Let me introduce you. How's everybody doing? How has Cancer season been treating you? We have kind of transitioned into that Friday, Saturday last week, and it's water. It's a water element. So I am curious to see if you felt that shift and if you would like to share anything in the chat regarding your Cancer placements. And I'll also be introducing the archetypes, so you can let us know what archetypes you have as well. So Cancer season. Here's the zodiac sign for Cancer. It is the crab as well. So let's tune into the archetype of Cancer season. She rises from the ocean of stars, hair like silver waves, heart wide open to the tides. She is the rhythm of the moon, the voice of the womb, the silence between heartbeats. She is Cancer season, here to soften, to stir, and to call us home. And the way we approach Cancer season is through our method of walking the wheel. Walking the wheel is all about following the transits. And so when you look at astrology, astrology tends to focus on the season at large, like the general season of Cancer. And for those of you that know, a beginning of the season Cancer is totally different than an end of the season Cancer. June Cancers are different than mid-July Cancers. And that's because the energies shift and change, and the archetypes take up, 5 to 6 days, and they each have their own unique personality. And when we walk the wheel, we get to know those distinct personalities because we are a accumulation, an amalgamation of these archetypes alchemizing in us and then creating the personality that is us, that we've named with our names. And Ashley has her own set of archetypes that make her up. That doesn't mean we don't have access to the ones that are quote unquote not defined in our gene keys or human design. We walk them every year of our life, and so we partner with them, we know them, we interact with them. So we need to form right relationship with them. So as we walk the wheel together, we get that opportunity to have right relationship. And right in terms of aligned, in harmony, balanced, not as if there is a wrong way. We can be in the shadow. Shadow provides us opportunity to reflect, and it's a portal into the gift. So we have to understand what it is to be in stress to know how to be in stillness. How can you know how to orient with quote unquote the center of the storm if you weren't flopping around throughout all the sides of the storm, right? We've got to find our way to the eye of the storm and the I am presence that's unwavering, unmovable, and imperturbable. We can get triggered by the transits, or we can utilize them to help us by being in harmony, in sync with the frequencies. We are right here in the fourth house. So Cancer corresponds to the fourth house and the moon, and we see that in this section of the graph. And this is about your home, your private lives, your roots, your heritage, your family, your psychological foundation, and some of your subconscious patterns, which come from your roots, which come from your lineage as well, which come from the conditioning that you had in childhood. The moon is an amplifier. The moon is going to bring up your emotions. Emotions are watery. They are changing with the tides. And so Cancer has the ability to bring these to the surface. Cancer is water sign. Right here. It's cardinal water sign. But the waters of Cancer tend to be like if you imagine yourself floating on a raft in a lazy river, floating in a floaty on a lazy river. It's on the surface. It's warm, it's comforting, like the sun still touches it. It's not the intense depths that Scorpio goes to, and it's not that mutable like I'm me and you and everything is mixing and merging together and I can't tell left from right, up from down. Not that kind of Pisces, where you become the water. Here's the surface, here's the depths, here's like, I am water. I am water, I am everything. And so when it comes to the Cancer archetypes, we're going to meet them during the season. The first one that we come into contact with is the wild woman, and she's part Cancer, part Gemini. The end of the wild woman transit, currently we're in the sixth line of the wild woman, transitioning to the mountain, that is Cancer energy. And the wild woman is a little bit spontaneous, sporadic, for Cancer's liking in some ways. There's comfort in Cancer and home, and the wild woman might trigger wounds of abandonment if the wild woman's in a different season, a different cycle, and she's like kind of, in it and then not in it. She's not kind of pinned down. However, the wild woman is completely cyclical. She's a cyclical being, and she does believe that everyone is welcome here. And so that is that center of belonging and acceptance that we find in Cancer. So we're beginning this season with this wild woman that is about the love of humanity. Everybody's welcome. Come home. First, come home to yourself, and you'll find belonging in you, and then you'll find belonging with others. So this is the wild woman. Then we have the mountain, the 52, and we'll speak about that today as well. We'll go deeper into each of these today. The Liberator, 39, the Initiator, 53, the Scientist, 62, and the Comedian, 56. So these are our Cancer archetypes, and they'll be a beautiful ride. Here, if you have your astrology chart from Genetic Matrix pulled up, where is my pointer? You'll see that I highlighted where Cancer is for you. So if you want to put in the chat what activations you have in Cancer season, you can do that. This person in particular has north nodes in Cancer. So moving from Capricorn, south node, to Cancer north node, also the ascendant. They're learning how to be Cancerian. They're not naturally Cancerian. It doesn't feel good to be in here. It's a learning point. It's an edge. This person happens to be Bella, if you recognize her chart. Bella is a business owner. Bella does not have a family or children or a marriage, and this is where we find that in Cancer. We find all that stuff in Cancer. And so to transition, to shift into that will be part of what she's learning, and also learning to belong to herself, learning about being with emotions, hers and others. I know that she said she has a completely open solar plexus center. She's mentioned feeling like a tumble dryer when she's in someone else's emotional wave. And so that could keep her from being with the emotions. And Cancer wants you to sit with them, wants you to be with the water of your emotions. So that'll be the edge, right? Capricorn is not emotional at all. It's like, nope, we got the thing to do. It's practical. It's pragmatic. It's like, here's what we have to do. And it doesn't really dip into that realm. It could even repress some of it. So for those of you that are heavy on the Capricorn energy, it might feel really uncomfortable to be in Cancer season. Any place we have oppositions, it gets a little bit uncomfortable. And that comes too with the gates that are programming partners, quote unquote, well, literally, to the Cancer archetypes. So if you have the programming partner of some of these archetypes that are in transit, you will feel the tension. You will feel the opposition. You'll feel the pull. And when we can combine these programming partners together, we get balance because we meet in the middle. So where there's too much emotionality or not enough, we come to the middle and it's just right. Too much practicality, pragmatism, but not including the emotions or belonging or any of these things. We want to come to the middle. We want to come to the middle of this. Just checking the chat. Okay. Cancer season, June 21st to July 22nd. Cancer is known as the crab. It's crab season. I don't know if it's actually crab season. Do we catch crabs during this time? I don't know. But it's also connected to the moon. The polarity for Cancer is she is feminine. And The modality is cardinal. The modalities go cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Cardinals first, cardinals leadership, cardinals I go first. And fixed is I've set the rhythm, I'm good with it, I'm going to keep going with this. And mutable is transforming, changing, right? So there's 3 different modalities for each of the elements. So water, cardinal, fixed, mutable. This happens to take up the cardinal space. The ruler is the moon. The moon is an amplifier. The moon is cyclical. The moon is deeply tied to the feminine nature, to the feminine being. Women have moon cycles. They usually follow, between 24 30 days, kind of trying to sync up with the tides. We have our own tides. Cancer is also connected to the womb space and connected to our mother. So during this time, you can dig into the relationship that you've had with your mother, with what she's taught you. Cancer is about nurturing, how we nurture. When you look at your moon sign, your moon sign, your moon gate, your moon house, you're going to understand what you need to feel nurtured, what you need to feel cared for. And if you did not get that in childhood, then that's what you're always going to be driven to seek. You may give it to others, but you're doing it so that it can be given to you. So you're going to be resonating with that, and it's for the personality moon, if you look at your personality moon. This is connected to the 4th house. That's what brings in those roots, those ancestral vibes and ties, and what has formed you, what created you, the conditioning you experienced. It's also what you're here to carry with you and also rise out of, because the 4th house is the bottom. And the 10th house is where you see your midhaven. So the opposition point of that 4th house is the 10th house. And that's where you find your career. So that's why the rite of passage of leaving the nest is so important, because that's where we start to discover who we are outside of the conditioning and the rules and all the things we learned in the 4th house. And how your mom and dad and everybody in your family nurtured or took care of you may not be what you carry forward. So we have to decide what we venerate, what we preserve, as we are moving into our own life and creating our own home. And this is about homemaking here. And then again, the perspective is personal for Cancer. So we have personal and transpersonal. The personal zodiac signs are the first house or the first sign, Aries, all the way to the transition point that we experience in Virgo, where we start to learn about service. So those are personal in that sense. And then we move into where it's mostly about the other and learning to be with the other as we move into that 7th house, 8th house, 9th house, etc. Just checking the chat again. Also, okay. Cancer characteristics. Let's see. So I mentioned belonging before. It also is about care, which I've mentioned, and inner knowing. Waters are they pick up a lot of information. They carry information, they store information. You can look about Emoto's stuff, and he's going to talk about how if you speak positive, if you speak affirmations to water, it creates these beautiful patterns. If you're hateful, negative to water, it has different kind of patterns and it stores that. And so we're water beings as well. We're here to pick up information to connect with other people, and we have an intuition, we have an inner knowing. Cancer is going to be connected to that because it's connected to water. Water is highly psychic, intuitive. All the water signs are very psychic and intuitive. And if you think about the neutrino stream, right? In human design, we talk about neutrinos, which are the smallest particle of matter that hold information. And the people that discovered that won a Nobel Prize for it and were highly recognized. Ross said it before them, and he was so excited when they discovered it because it validated what he received from the voice. So neutrinos come from the sun, they emit off of the sun, and any of the other really large bodies that are in our solar system. For example, Jupiter emits some neutrinos as well. Jupiter's our law for expansion. Jupiter's also in Cancer. So we are expanding in terms of abundance and positivity and good luck, and all this beautiful Jupiter stuff is in Cancer. Jupiter is expanding the home. Jupiter is expanding belonging, inner knowing. Jupiter's here to make us focus on that. Back to inner knowing, and neutrinos, since they carry information, when the sun is in the sign of Cancer in the sky, it is emitting neutrinos that carry Cancerian qualities. Right now we're in 15.6, which is a Cancer. We are going to be experiencing the wild woman as a Cancer archetype. It's going to bring in these qualities. Neutrinos are passing through us at a rapid rate. They're so small they can go through us, they go through another person, they go through the planets, they come back to us, and we, as intuitive beings, pick up on the nuances of the information that's stored in those neutrinos. That's exactly why telepathy is real, why empathy is real, why you feel other people's feelings, why you think other people's thoughts, why there's resonance and connection between you and other people. That's because neutrinos are passing through us. And the neutrinos that are passing through me are reaching you in a millisecond. I'm in Oregon right now, and if you're on the other side of the world, it's reaching you very quickly. And because you're tuning into me as I'm speaking, you're also tuning into the information that's in my field. So I can say one thing, but you're going to also pick up on other things. Highly intuitive people know what's underneath the surface. So Cancer season is going to invite us to soften into our hearts, root into what feels like home, and listen to the quiet wisdom rising from within. This is where we have to bring our presence to our emotions, reflect on them, connect with them, and there can be big breakthroughs that happen during the season, particularly also because Jupiter's in the sign of Cancer. And so it's going to really make us focus on our feelings. Feelings are guides, they carry data, they're connected to memories, they're connected to the past. If you want a new reality and a new future, you need to transmute the past, because who you are being in the now is creating the future you're stepping into. So when you do transformational work, somatic processing, deep work with the emotional field, you are liberating yourself from any hooks or bounds or cords that you have to past events, or even past events that have created and shaped a belief in you. Beliefs are very strong. It's almost like a broadcasting thing, like a broadcasting system that's being sent out into the world, and people are picking it up and responding to that. They're going to treat you in the way that your field is emoting, like the signals it's telling. And it's sometimes hard to, and remember, they're just mirrors. They're here to show you that thing, that program that you're still running that's not in alignment with your best self. And it's painful sometimes, but the truth has to come up through the emotional field. We have to feel it. We feel our emotions to heal it. And we need our presence and protection. Cancer is a crab. It has a shell. You have to ask yourself, am I too rigid, protecting myself too much from the others? That means nothing else can get in. Or am I not protecting myself enough and I'm almost laying down, letting other people walk all over me or take everything from me, and then I get nothing in return? We have to find balance. And we have to have the courage to care deeply for not just for others, but for ourselves. And then the archetypal energy of Cancer is associated with the following characteristics. So the powers of Cancer season, of Cancer archetypes, are that they're nurturing, intuitive, protective, compassionate, empathetic, devoted, creative, emotionally intelligent, loyal, and healing. In the shadow or in the pitfalls, they could be overprotective, moody, withdrawn, oversensitive, or clingy instead of being withdrawn, defensive, indirect, avoiding, and resentful. Especially if we're kind of moving into oversensitivity, we're going to think that what someone else is doing is because of us, or what we do is not mirrored back in the way that we would do it, and then we get resentful, like, why should I do that if you're not doing this for me? Or why am I caring for you if you're not caring about me or caring for me? And that's giving from that place of selfishness. It's not altruistic. It's selfish giving, selfish caring. Do you know, tuning into like the mother archetype and the humanness of the mother and finding their identity and role in being a mother, and then feeling like your kids are ungrateful and they don't love you and they're not respecting you and all that. It's like they're giving to receive love because they haven't found love in themselves yet. So they're wanting their kids to be the source of love, or the kids to be them. They wanting them to behave in a certain way, because if somebody sees their kids misbehaving, it means something about them. There's like this huge cling to children as if it means something about you. And so as a mother in this season, we have to separate ourselves a little bit more from our kids and know that there is autonomy in each of us, and not be too concerned with like, this is my creation and this has a direct correlation for who I am as a person because I created this. And if you're judging my child, you're judging me. And I need my child to act right, so I'm going to force them to be a certain way because it matters how people look at us. And that's the shadow of Cancer as a mother. Okay. So what does this season invite you to do? We want to anchor into emotional safety. We want emotional competency. You need to first know what it is to create a safe space for you to emote in order for you to be able to teach people how to do that for you, right? Emotional safety is something that we need to provide for ourselves. And emotional competency is something that we achieve when we make space to feel for ourselves, when we let the emotion complete its arc. It has a wave, it has a length, it has a timing. And if we cut it off, we freeze it inside of ourselves, and it's waiting for a moment for safety. Or it's waiting for a moment to get so big it explodes out of you, and then it becomes unsafe for other people. We also want to create and protect sacred space. So the home is your sacred space. It's where you spend the majority of your time. So are you comfortable in it? Is it your sanctuary? How have you cultivated a place of comfort? How have you turned a house into a home? Cancer does this. They're amazing homemakers. Do you feel like you can rest and relax in this space? And what are your boundaries and rules for when people enter your sacred space? It's your space. And so how are people allowed to enter it? Deepen your connection to inner and ancestral waters. Look at your childhood, look at your mother, look at how she's impacted you positively, negatively. What have you learned from her? What have you learned from the ancestors through your lineage? What are you venerating? What are you carrying on, and what do you want to stop carrying on? What patterns are you breaking? What chains are you breaking? What stops with you? Also, tending to your roots. What nourishes you now? Got to care for yourself. Feeling your feelings without judgment. We need to create a positive relationship with our feelings so that we can invite more into our life. Your feelings take up space until they are witnessed and learned from. The abstract circuitry in human design is all about emotional processing and what we've learned from it. It doesn't land in the mind, it lands in the solar plexus center. And we need to complete the whole arc of the hero's journey so that we can find the medicine and it can transform us into the hero, because we are taking that medicine, discovering that medicine for ourselves, and then maybe, hopefully, eventually sharing that medicine with others. What worked for us will work for others. And what is it to be human? It's to feel. We're here with a huge capacity to feel. And how much are you living that full spectrum? Which emotions really make you uncomfortable? Which ones do you not want to have a seat at the table of your life? Shame, betrayal, desire, lust. What are the things that you're like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this feeling. Which ones do you not have a good relationship with? And like I said, learn about your moon placement, the gate, the sign, the house. And that's going to tell you information. It'll help you. Okay. I'm going to give you, this came from our course called Drive. It's part of Business by Design, and we look at your personality moon in it. And I wanted to give you a little snippet of what it means to have your moon in Cancer. Remember, Cancer is ruled by the moon. This is part of that course. So if your moon is in Cancer, super amplified, you're empathetic, nurturing, and emotional. So with someone that has a moon in Cancer, you're deeply emotional, sensitive, you feel things profoundly, and are very intuitive. You need a nurturing and secure environment. A family and a home are central to your emotional well-being. Remember, the moon is about what you need to feel nurtured. What kind of care do you like? What drives you? The response to life is that Cancer moons are protective and empathetic and often react with care and compassion. So if you want to learn more about your moon, which we call Drive in our BBD series, you can do that. You can also pick up the setup for Cancer season, because that's going to also, remember how I said over here, learn about your moon placement. Inside of this, we learn about your moon placement, we learn about your Cancer placements, and we learn about the fourth house placements, like what is activated in those. And that'll give you an understanding of how Cancer is impacting you. Yeah, I'll put that in the chat later. I can't put it in the chat now. Then, like I said, here's Drive. So Cancer season, I have a lot of recommendations for you. So we have Drive, like I already said, and then I have Reclaim, which is all about reclaiming your moon. And it talks about the moon that it is deeply connected to the mother and the mother wound and the mother womb and the mother moon. So, wound, womb, moon. That's what we're looking at in here. So if you feel drawn to work with your moon and reclaim it as your own, we're not stealing it from the mother. We're just looking at the conditioning and the patterns, and then we're reclaiming it so that we can transform it. I'll put those in the chat later if you'd like to do those. All right, let me see. Oh, good. We're in a good place for time. I'm just going to go through these briefly to help you understand about this season. So I already mentioned a little bit about the wild woman archetype. And during this last day, I just want you to tune into that belonging, because remember, the wild woman is about the love of humanity. It's part of the identity center. And the Sphinx gates have to do with direction, and the vessel of love gates have to do with love. So 15 has to do with love of humanity. 10 has to do with love of self. So the opposition point for the wild woman is the 10, the natural. The natural loves itself. We don't want you to love humanity to the detriment of yourself, to be a doormat, to let other people's extreme behaviors be acceptable. If it's hurting you or harming you, it's not welcome. And so you separate yourself from that. It is not okay to be a doormat. It is not okay to be abused. And the wild woman is very accepting. They might accept extreme behaviors that most people don't. 15 is love of humanity. 10 is about behavior of the self. And also, when we pair those together, what is the behavior of the others? And what are you allowing in your life? So she's also the rhythm keeper of nature and of love. And she dances to the beat of her own heart. You want to get into rhythm with yourself, especially coming into Cancer season, where it's about belonging and home and others and nurturing. We want to know how to nurture ourselves. And especially as women, women are cyclical beings. And we need to know when we need to rest, when we're on, look into your luteal phase, look into when are you ovulating, when are you on your cycle, if you are pre-menopausal, right? Because you have a cycle. People that are menopausal or that don't have a cycle anymore still are cyclical. It's just kind of another rite of passage. So we want to tune into that rhythm, because when we're in rhythm, when we're in our center and in our heart, we become magnetic. And we want to live our lives in a raw, untamed, kind of authentic, flowing, wild way. We want to get back to our wild roots. So I want you to think about, as we're going into our ancestry, into our roots, what wild roots are what are ready to come up, to come through, that maybe I've been suppressing. Like, oh, that's not welcome. That doesn't belong. Cancer is about belonging. So can we call all of our parts home? Moving into the mountain. The mountain moves. Oh, wait. I knew I had these. I didn't use this for that one. Okay. The mountain is the gate of inaction. We call it in the hexagram keeping still. It moves from stress to restraint to stillness. It's in the root center. If you have an undefined root, stress is amplified, meaning in all the different situations and circumstances, we need to not react to the stress of the environment. We need to have restraint. We need to be able to be in our center to know that it's just kind of like the same thing for the solar plexus. It's a field that we are just sampling, that we're just feeling. And so it's hard sometimes to feel how stressed out the room is, how stressed out the others is, and we just want to fix the stress. But the person who is the calm in the storm is better for the group that's in stress and in chaos than the one that is like reacting and running around with their head cut off trying to fix things. What do I need to do? So the mountain is a still point in the storm, like I said, and it holds presence like a summit, like a mountain. And it reminds us that rootedness is power and that true peace comes from any inner steadiness. And the mountain is very tuned into the breath. The tool you can take for the transit of the mountain is your breath. The breath is going to ground you, the breath is going to calm you. And if you can use your breath to regulate your nervous system, you won't feel like a current of anxiety is coursing through your being. We want to find strategies that help us balance our nervous system to become more centered and grounded. If you find yourself drifting up, drifting out, and going into stress, go outside. Get in nature, put your feet on the ground, close your eyes, take a breath, and make it a big, deep breath and a big, deep exhale. It's the best way to help root back into you and to become still instead of reacting to it. There's pulses that come out of the root, pulses in the 52, the 60, and the 53. Right? Beginnings, focus. And also, the stress is helping us come back into stillness. Okay. Liberator. Oh man, this one gets really mixed up for some people. Liberator is a provoker. It provokes others in the shadow. Remember, dynamism and liberation is the highest frequencies. Provocation is like this poking energy. And it's here to liberate freedom. You see how it comes out of the root? It's moving towards the solar plexus, 55. It wants to liberate freedom. It's a protector of freedom. It's going to break chains, but it's here to break chains with love. It's not here to be mean about its provocation. It can be a huge encourager. These people that have the liberator energy can be really big encouragers of the human spirit. They're here to help lift up those freedom. They're going to take you out of the victim. The ones that are trickily provoking the victim in you, if you don't have awareness that you're in the victim, they become your persecutor, and it just perpetuates this cycle. And the people that are saying, "Oh, I'm here to provoke you," that is them not taking responsibility for their impact and the way and the words and the energy that they're putting out. Cancer is about love. She's not going to harm her family. In the shadow, she can, but that is because she's not making space for her own emotions. She doesn't feel emotionally free, emotionally resilient, emotionally competent, and so it is not okay for other people to be in it. And she's going to blow up at them. She will provoke them because she is easily provoked. So we need to awaken the will to rise. We need to reveal that our greatest strength in our own lives is our tenderness with ourselves. We have to learn how to care for ourselves. This is a highly creative energy. Richard talks about being connected with creativity in this one. Dynamism has to do with being creative because creativity, art, is healing. It is going to make you feel more free, more expressive. People that are not in touch with the things that are fulfilling, that are healing, a lot of people tend to either eat or eat nothing. The ones that are in the shadow frequency of this archetype are either going to be, when they're bored, they're going to eat. Or when they're not fulfilled, they're going to starve themselves. And that's where we get like that hypo and hyperthyroidism, all that stuff. I believe that it has to do with there's so much energy and currents running through these people that they need an outlet. And to be creative is to bring your essence into the world. And again, root, it's fuel. It's fueling expression. Do you feel free to express or not? The Liberator is going to give us this opportunity to see what is provoking us. It's here to provoke spirit. It's here to provoke emotion. You need to feel it. And it's not just provoking for the mere fact of provoking. It's like once it's provoked and come up, what do we do with it? That's why today, after this call, we're doing Mute to Muse. That's the workshop that I'm hosting. And it is about liberating your creativity, liberating your expression, but we do so through emotional alchemy, through emotional transmutation. So there's process. It's to be able to make safe space for your mute, for these archetypes that are in the shadow to come up, to finally be seen. Remember, I told you your emotions can get stuck. If you don't complete the arc of the emotional experience, we keep attracting things to provoke us so that the emotion can finally come to the surface and we can actually be with it, sit with it, learn from it. And then we get to complete the arc. And you know what happens once you experience an emotion and then you learn from it? You make space for newness. You make space for more abundance in your life because you're done. It's like, you know, that feeling you get when you check something off of your list. You're like, oh, that's done. Ah, so much space, right? And so that's what happens when we complete an arc, when we emotionally process and then we learn what's underneath it. It gets a voice. I want to give you another example for the Liberator and the things that provoke us. I said this on the Mute to Muse, the Meeting the Mute, Awakening the Muse webinar that I did, but I think it's a really valid example of our internal parts. So if you know internal family systems, you know that we have parts, just like we have 64 archetypes. Imagine 64 archetypes sitting in a boat together, and we have a mission. We're rowing somewhere together. It's a rowboat. It's not this super stable boat either. It's a rowboat because we have an ocean of emotion in us, and right now we are working with a rowboat. You can upgrade your boat to like a yacht, but that's going to take time and years of learning how to process your emotions. But I want you to imagine everybody starts with a rowboat. You got 64 archetypes sitting in that rowboat. When one of those archetypes are provoked by the emotions inside or the weather outside, it's going to stand up in the boat and it's going to say, whoa, 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 I'm not okay with this. I need you guys all to stop. And it disrupts the whole thing. And you know what happens when someone starts to get agitated and in fear and they're standing up? They could tip over the whole boat. And then that compromises the safety of all the other archetypes. And then when the other archetypes are triggered because that one was triggered and stands up, it's this whole field of stress and this whole field of anxiety because now all of a sudden we're triggered. And I don't want to feel what that person is feeling. Why couldn't you just sit down and shut up and not share that with us? And you're keeping us from our goal and we need to do this thing. And if we treat them like that, then we're saying to ourselves, we're saying to our parts, there's no space for you. You're not allowed here. We might as well just kick you out of the boat. You need to sit down and shut up. And if we treat ourselves like that, then that is not caring. We're not serving ourselves. And that part is going to get increasingly more unstable until it does stand up another time and tips over the whole boat. And then you're in this whole emotional, turbulent downpour and it's spiraling out of control because we weren't dealing with it. But if we learn how to be with our emotions, we can speak to them like we weren't spoken to. We can care for them like we weren't cared for. We can give ourselves the safety and the space. You just need to be with yourself. And oftentimes it just takes presence to be able to calm that emotion. Sometimes it doesn't have anything to share. That part is like, I just needed to know I wasn't alone in this mission. I just needed to know you guys saw me. I just needed to know that my work was valuable. I just needed to know. That's it. That's all it needed. And we're such dynamic beings. So yeah, liberation lives on the other side of that. The initiator is the 53. Who has the 53? The initiator is the gate of beginnings. And it's about development and maturity, and it moves from immaturity to expansion to superabundance. When we say immaturity, we're going to talk about emotional immaturity, because the whole purpose of the circuitry, of the abstract collective circuitry, is that it begins a new cycle for us that we need to complete. The 53 is connected to the 42. We need to complete the cycle. It's here to plant seeds of new beginnings, and the seeds of those beginnings are going to bring us into connection with archetypes. Sorry, archetypes and emotions that we haven't felt before. We've got the 41 and the 30. We desire so deeply to feel we're human. And so the 41 is anticipating a new feeling, and that feeling is coming, and then we have to be with it. And then it goes on this whole arc and adventure with the 35 and the 36. It's like, okay, the hero's journey. And at the end of this hero's journey, at the beginning of it, we need to commit to it. We need to bring our whole body, our whole being to it. That's the 2946. And we say, I'm in. I said yes, right? There's a hero's journey. The emotion is here. The calling is here. Did we say yes to it? If we say yes to it, let's do a whole F yes, like whole body yes. And if we totally immerse ourselves in it, there will be a moment at the end where we get to look back and see, why the hell did I just go through what I went through? Oh, it was to learn X, Y, Z. We'll get breadcrumbs on the trail as well, and we'll put them all together. And 47 and 64 will make sense of the past. And then we'll be able to complete that arc of the emotional wave, and we'll be able to move on to new things. The 41 and the 30 want to experience new things. But if you don't complete it, guess what? You repeat what you don't complete. So you are going to be attracting the same flavor of experience, different person, different situation, different day, but same flavor, because you need to complete the emotional arc. That's what helps you mature. And along this route, it's almost like, when you're going to college and you're getting a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, there are courses you need to complete to then be like, yep, signed off. You have a bachelor's of. Well, you're getting a bachelor's in this life as well, and you have things that you need to learn from. And it's your development. It's the way that we are developing, and this is collective, so it's not just for you. It's for the collective of humanity. We're here to move past and complete the things that we don't need to repeat anymore. Right? If we want to see the world being different, then we need to be different. So that's the initiator. The one who plants the first seed and carries the pulse of new beginnings, invites us to say yes to the journey, even if we don't know where it leads. You won't know where it leads until it's over. That's how that one works. And then we got two more. The scientist is the gate of detail. It's in the throat. And it's called preponderance of the small details. Can we look at the details? Can we separate the detail from the whole? Can we name it? It's all about naming it. It's very scientific as well. This is about intellect in the shadow, precision in the gift, and impeccability in the city. And so we move into intellect and naming the thing by separating from the whole. Just like when we're doing archetypal work and parts work, right? We're doing it to then integrate back into the whole. If you just separate for the sake of separating, we are not tuning into the wholeness of the being. We're just tuning into one part. You can't assess a tire and be like, oh, tire's good, we can drive the car, if really like the engine is bad and it won't even start. Right? We need to know the health of the whole thing before we decide to like name it and label it and say, it's this. We need to understand how everything is moving together. So that's why impeccability comes in as well. Richard talks about the language of light and how it's not just about identifying a leaf based or a tree based on its leaf. It's about looking at the whole tree as a being, as a soul, and tuning into that soul and naming it in that way too, which, yeah, you may not even resonate with the scientist or other of the archetypes names, and that's because there is a precision in you that is saying, I resonate most with this name. And this is what I'm going to call it, because we want it to land very deeply in you. And that'll be different for each person. Someone might have a very negative experience with scientists in general. And they're like, no, I can't call it the scientist. I need to call it something else that's more accessible. Then I can heal that, and then it doesn't matter what I call it because I'm not going to be triggered by any of the words. But we get triggered by words because words hold frequency, memory, energy, and yeah, like God is a word that a lot of people don't have a great relationship with, and that's why people are like source, I am, all that is, universe, infinite abundant, like whatever the thing is. We're going to name it so that we can have right relationship with it and we can welcome it in as well. And then we move into the scientist. I mean, the comedian. We were already there. Thank you, scientist. Comedian is gate 56, is the gate of stimulation. We get into our senses here, sight, taste, smell, all of that. And we call this hexagram the wanderer. The comedian is also the entertainer, the vagabond, the globetrotter. It has experiences. It has gone on adventures. And it is here to tell stories, to entertain, to take you on a journey. And it does so by stimulating your senses, right? You're gonna taste the food it ate 5 years ago. You're gonna smell, you're gonna feel the leaf underneath your feet as you're walking through the forest barefoot. This person has a way with words, but they're also could also be highly distracted by the senses. This is part of the codon ring of trials. And as humans, we can get really distracted by our senses and like just want to feel good, just want to taste that thing, see that thing. It's very much about the pleasure of the senses. Dionysus would be a good mythological archetype to say is associated with the 56. Libations! Libations. That's the comedian. But in the highest frequency, it uses the senses to bring yourself so deeply into the experience, and it needs to be enriching for the soul, for the spirit. Laughter is medicine. The comedian is a storyteller. It's here to make you laugh, to make you cry and weep and do all these things because it has a way with words, just like the 62 does. We're entering the throat gate over here, right? The scientist, the comedian. So let me see if there's anything else I want to say about the sacred fool, the jester, the bard. He turns pain into punchlines and boredom into beauty, reminding us that levity is a form of wisdom and storytelling is medicine, right? And what makes a great story is a development of the characters, like their backstory, is an underlying mission, message, motif, symbolism in it so that it is very deep. The way you get that is through the 3313. It's through the retreat from the experience. You can't just go off and tell the story. You need to really reflect on what happened and what does it mean for you and what do you want to articulate and transfer and transmit to the audience that you're retelling it with. How can you bring them into the experience without them actually experiencing it? That's a comedian. So storytelling in the home, right? Being able to also name the thing. This would be extraordinarily helpful if we could name the emotion. Cancer brings emotional waters. Can we name the emotion? Can we name what's coming up? That part that needs care? Can we initiate new experiences so that we mature and grow and develop our emotional maturity? So that we're not emotionally incompetent, so that we can hold ourselves and also hold others? This is all Cancer, emotional energy. And then liberation. We're not a victim of anything. Can we liberate freedom within ourselves? Can we liberate emotional freedom? How can we make space for our emotions? How can we be stillness in the storm of our emotions, in the storm of what's happening, and be that for other people? Can we make a safe space where there's stillness, where there's maturity? And then the wild woman, where everyone's welcome. Everyone has a seat at the table, and we are tuning into the wild beauty that's inside of us and saying, all of my archetypes matter. I am whole. Okay, that's it.